Good evening. I hope everything's going well for you tonight. I'm coming on this evening because I'm going to do a little bit of a crime read for myself. That's something that just hit me, something that just struck me. I've been seeing a lot of these different videos on Netflix that are kind of things that are pertinent to what's going on in my life right now, some synchronicities, if you will. And I came across this Instagram influencer documentary about a girl named Belle Gibson, who said that she had brain cancer and had this nutrition site where she was helping other people that had cancer heal their cancer without chemotherapy. And so I couldn't even finish watching it because I got a really powerful download. I want you to hear me out, investigators, FBI, whoever's out there. Okay, everybody in my area, especially up in Oak Hills, like in Provo, when I was going through chemo, they took me to get my chemotherapy and different surgeries. I mean, they were with me throughout the whole thing, so they know without a shadow of doubt that I definitely did get breast cancer. You know, I went to see Dr. Jennifer Tittenser. She's the one that did most of my surgeries, and isn't it funny? Her name's Dr. Tittenser. I think that's really funny. Anyway, and then I went up to Utah Valley Hospital for my first, series of chemotherapy, but they were just, I mean, they were really letting me have it, and I ended up changing. I didn't really like being there, so I went to Revere Health, and I was under the care of Dr. J. Cordell Bott, who happened to be Jennifer Tittenser's father-in-law or stepdad or something like that. So he's her stepdad. Anyway, and so I followed along with the procedure with them. So anyway, long story short, I went through a bazillion surgeries and chemo and radiation, went through all of it, had so many surgeries, so after chemo, I went through almost a surgery. I mean, they had to kind of wait every 3 months because it was too much anesthesia, but I'm sure every 3 months I was having some kind of a surgery, for most of 2015. And so it was pretty intensive. So anyway, long story short, and then it kind of, then it wasn't quite as often. I still had some different things pop up that I had to have surgery for along the way. But in the meantime, I had moved to West Jordan and was working a job, and still was having some surgeries intermittently here and there. But anyway, early on in this investigation about me and my circumstances where there's an inheritance involved and they're trying to take it, it came up with several different readers, and of course back then too, in the beginning, I was still under the investigative mode after leaving Star Maker, which friends there knew that I had breast cancer. I told a few people that I felt that I could trust that I did have breast cancer, so they knew from Star Maker, first of all. And so that probably started I heard that there was, life insurance fraud going on everywhere. But what concerns me about this particular area is back in 2018, I had come back from Italy, and I'd gone in to see Dr. Bott, at the Utah Cancer Center over at American Fork. And, they did a scan, and he said that there were spots, of cancer on my spine. Now, this is when I thought, while all the treatment was over, all the surgeries were pretty much over, and so I had to come in, I don't know, every 3 months for whatever reason. They just wanted to keep me coming back. But anyway, I went and met with him, and we did a scan, and he said there's spots on your hip and your spine and all that, and I saw the x-rays. They were actually there. And so so he sent me to Utah Valley Hospital, where some doctors there scraped the spots and then were supposedly tested it. Well, he called me, later, like a week later, and he said, unfortunately, you've got it back. It's in your spine. And so I went back to see him, and they got me started on, Verzenio and Kisqali. And, I had to get some shots in my stomach. I mean, it was really you know, when you think that you've gotten through it and you're all done, and then you find out that it's come back, you know, that really changed so much for me, you know. So my whole, it's like my whole demeanor just shifted. It just, I was sunk, you know, because I don't know if you've seen the other video before when Heavenly Father told me, this is not your time and everything's going to be okay. Well, this was really, so some things changed with me emotionally, you know, and it wasn't really bad. It was just coping. I was choosing, you know, I was really upset, and I chose to go with some Mormon friends, and, you know, and I had a glass of wine, you know, and it was relaxing, and I was laughing. It was no big deal. But I didn't think too much of it, you know, but I didn't even drink alcohol at that point. I mean, it'd been like, since I was in my late 20s that I stopped. I was still in Oregon and I had stopped drinking. But, you know, but it was nice. And, you know, I mean, and when you think you're going to die, you know, all of a sudden, you know, you just, I mean, any kind of moment where you want peace and laughter and just, you know what I mean? And not to make excuses. I mean, you really feel this way. If somebody tells you that your cancer is coming back and literally tells you you've got 3 to 5 years to live and we need to do this intense treatment to manage that's exactly the words, we need to manage your disease. So I took Dr. Bott's advice, and I took the Verzenio at first, and it was causing, you know, me to bleed when I'd go to the bathroom. It made me really sick, and so that I couldn't maintain it for more than 2 weeks. And then they tried me on Kisqali, and it was not quite as bad, but it was still just, you know, you just walk around like you're wrung out all the time, like you're just so tired, exhausted. And it was just, I wasn't feeling good. And then it got to this point where a week came, and it's like, I was going to take the Kisqali, and I stopped, and I said, you know, just something stopped me. And I'm not suggesting anybody else not take their Kisqali or their Verzenio if you've got metastatic breast cancer. Please don't do that. You know, unless you are prayerful. It has to be your own decision. Don't base it off my experience. But I couldn't do it anymore. And then, you know, when I was telling my cousin Doug, you know, how I was feeling, and I was doing all this research, and even Glenna Gasper in San Diego, I was talking to her about these different treatments, and she was talking to me because she ended up getting breast cancer too, like maybe a year later. But hers, they didn't treat hers as aggressively as they did mine. But we were actually even talking about, you know, different treatments that could be beneficial, like in Mexico, that wasn't chemo, that would be a better way to heal. And I thought, you know, I would rather do something like that than go back on chemotherapy. And so that was kind of the plan. And then when Doug and I don't know how we approached Rachel from Club 90, but they did, you know, a fundraiser, and, you know, and I invested some of the money that I got from them, and that's a different story. But even Rachel's friend in the bathroom, I showed her what the surgery looked like. Everybody in my family knew what the surgeries looked like. So the reason this thing about Belle kind of struck me is because a part of their campaign, the smear campaign, was to make me look like I was a liar, like Belle Gibson. To go in, and in 2018, I had given the doctor permission for my nephew, Dr. Nicholas Pearson, to look at my scans. And sure enough, Nicholas said, well, there are slurs. You definitely have, you know, I do have a quarter-size spot on my hip, and then another one that's about a dime size on my spine. But he did say there were slurs, and he goes, well, you need to do whatever your doctor tells you to do. And so, you know, and I really tried. I tried to take the medications. But at that one time, I had actually given him permission to get medical information about me. And so during this investigation online, several different readers were saying something about, you know, they changed medical records, or somebody's pretending to be you and they're changing your medical records. And it just hit me really hard that they wanted to, this is a whole defamation thing, right? And so, and you know that even the prophet of the church is a surgeon, and they were talking about different doctors that were involved. maybe trying to change my diagnosis or using my diagnosis to pretend somebody else was me, and then to even go to the extreme of saying that I didn't have cancer at all, or that it never came back, and that I was lying. And when I watched this thing with Belle, I realized that they were trying to make me look like I was a liar and getting SSDI when I didn't deserve it. But there's no way I could have even got that without a doctor involved. Doctors have to tell you the diagnosis, tell the government, you know what I mean? They have to be forthcoming and tell them what's going on. It's not just like you can just say, oh, I've got this, and get away with it. No, it doesn't work like that. And so it was kind of the opposite story for me. I wasn't lying. I have never lied about it, but they were trying to make me look as if I were a liar, like Belle Gibson on Instagram. I saw that, and it just, bam, it just hit me so hard that they have gone to such great extreme to defame me that I would like you, investigators, to check my story and see if this isn't true, because I know it is. I know that they altered they did a HIPAA violation and tried to manipulate my documents to try to make it look like Elon Musk, that I was lying when I was not. I absolutely was not. And you're talking to someone who actually was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. I wasn't lying, not even for a second. And so you going into Social Security or trying to prove all these frauds out there is a big lie, you scumbag. It is. You don't know who really has it and what you're actually doing to people's lives. Now, as long as I have freedom of speech, I can tell you how I feel. But this is a big deal, what they're doing. It's a big deal to make people that really do need, maybe they really do need it, and they want to try to twist the story and make it look like it's not what it actually is. They lied. They absolutely lied about me and my story to get away with this unstoppable and this whole scam campaign against me, to make me look like I'm a liar and a fraud, when really it's them that's the liar and the fraud. And we all know it's true. And I want you to know that I know what you did. And there was HIPAA violations, and you did, all of you, had a plan so that you could steal my destiny, my family inheritance, so that you could continue to keep the secrets of crime that you've committed within the church and now within the industry and the government. Was it worth it to try to really, to have absolutely no humanity and no, oh wow, how far you went. And prove me wrong. I would love to have you prove me wrong. But I know in my gut what the Spirit tells me without a doubt. I know. I am not Belle Gibson. And I was never selling anything in the first place. But I know exactly what you were trying to do. And I'm no liar. I'm not the one that's the liar in this story. Shame on you. Eat it.